Hey everybody, it's Jessica Miller Merrill with Workology, and I am coming at you. I just came back from the SHRM Talent Conference where I talked about digital recruiting, digitizing talent, creative strategies in the online and digital recruiting world. And during my session talk, we talked about a lot of different things, including candidate quality. So many of us recruiters are overwhelmed with applications and we are not finding we've kissed a lot of frogs, but we haven't found our prince yet. And for most of the folks who were in my room during my session, trying to sort through the sea of applications and connecting with more qualified candidates was a challenge for so many of us. And that is exactly why I wanted to chat with Heidi Miller, who has had some recent experience utilizing some interesting artificial intelligence apply tools that I think that recruiters need to know more about. So welcome, Heidi, to the conversation. I'm really excited to have you here. Talk to us a little bit about your background and your experience in technology, marketing, and all the things.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jess. It's very nice to be here. And yeah, I am a content marketer, specializing in the B2B tech space. So I have about 18 years experience in B2B tech content marketing and social media strategy and marketing strategy. So I worked for cloud call center startups with 5 people and helped grow that to a $20 million company. I spent the last 6 years at AWS Marketplace, running 3 different content programs. So I actually have what I think is a pretty decent background. But I've also been looking for work for about 8 months now and getting very few nibbles, which is totally bizarre to me because I've never had to look for more than a month or two to find something that was right for me. And it's been really challenging. So my partner actually heard an NPR marketplace segment on using AI bots to apply for jobs. And I'm like, well, HR is using them to sift through them on their end, which I'm kind of worried is one of the reasons that I'm not getting the traction that I usually get. So let me take a look and see if this would be helpful. Sometimes I feel when I'm applying to things that I am sort of doing the same thing over and over. So maybe that is something that I could train a bot to do. One that was recommended in the article was Massive. So I went in and saw that there's a free 7-day trial, but you do have to pay after that. I didn't see, they actually hide the fact that you can pay monthly instead of quarterly. So I went ahead and paid for a quarter. And it wasn't until I went in afterwards I saw, oh, I could have just done monthly and tried it out for a little bit longer. And I also didn't see that you have to upgrade to pay for the customization. And so I was a little disappointed because I'm like, well, if you're just going to throw resumes at people without a custom letter or without customizing the resume, I can do that. Like I can just LinkedIn easy apply all day. But I still thought I'd give it a go just to check it out. And what I discovered was that on the far left, it said there were 445 jobs that fit my requirements. I input my requirements, things like content marketing, content strategy, social media marketing, social media strategy, B2B, things like that. And full-time employment. But I also was looking at contract too, just to see, to be a little bit more flexible. And, but it said 445, but it only showed me about 100 jobs. And I'm like, that's okay. 100 is still a lot. And so I went through them. Some of them were off base. They required skills I didn't have, or they were in industries I had no experience in and didn't want to bother applying for, just to kind of narrow it down a little bit. But in the end, I chose 17 positions to have it apply, and I clicked the apply button. And it said that it would apply every 1 to 3 days, and that that it will apply up to 50 positions a week. And in the free trial, though, you only get 20 positions. And I'm like, okay, 20 is still pretty good for a week. I'm averaging maybe 2 to 5 a day on my own, but it's a lot of work. So let me see how this works. Well, I check in 3 days later, it's only applied for 1 position. And I'm like, okay. I check in 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. It's applied for 2 positions. And Yeah, so I tried to find a way to contact them and I messaged tech support 3 times saying, is this normal? Did I do something wrong? And then my free trial expired, still hadn't responded. So then I sent a slightly angrier message saying, really? You promised 20 jobs a week. You let me apply to two, or you applied to two on my behalf, and I can't customize. I also had questions about, can I switch to customizations? Maybe that'll make a difference. No answer. So finally, about 8 or 9 days in, like after the free trial had elapsed, somebody jumped on. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We're a small team. We're really behind on our help, but we've got this big rollout going out on Tuesday. It's massive. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. It's going to make such a big difference. Wait till Tuesday. And I was like, it better. I was like, okay, all right. I appreciate that. I'll just give it another couple of days. So Tuesday comes and goes, still only 2 positions. Wednesday, Thursday, still only 2 positions applied for. So at this point, I just messaged them and said, hey, I want my money back. It's not doing what you promised. So I still don't know if it's maybe it's better for jobs in tech, maybe it's my field, maybe marketing. I don't know, but it showed me plenty of jobs, some of which were really good matches, I thought, but it simply wasn't doing the applications like it said it would. And so I haven't even tried customizing, which would have been really interesting to see. And part of me thinks that I'm going to go back and I'm like, let's just give it a go just to get the full experience and give it a see if it how it does with customizing. I may still do that. But I have to say, so far, this was listed as the best option because it did customizing instead of just papering resumes. So far, 2 big thumbs down from me.
I think this is like I've been fearful of these AI apply bots, and I think a lot of recruiters are in that camp because, like I said, we're overwhelmed with applications. Maybe we're not leveraging the matching tools and our technology for our applicant tracking systems correctly, or maybe we just don't have that capability. I can't speak for all recruiters, but I do know that we are having hundreds, if not thousands, of people to apply for single jobs, sometimes
Hmm.
in just a matter of a few days. And so there's a lot of fear around these kind of tools because then we're going to have twice as many or 3 times as many candidates to be able to sort through. But I wonder if maybe the reason why this particular one has been so inundated, if it was featured in NPR, they
Yeah.
probably had thousands of candidates like you who were like, I got to try something. And they weren't ready maybe for that kind of customer traffic, I suppose.
It
I
could be.
it just seems like really unfortunate because these are the kind of tools that get in the spotlight, right? And then these are the kind of
Hmm.
tools that we as recruiters talk about all the time, when really what I think we need is for you and I to talk together,
I
just and find
agree.
a way to do that so that we can get you and job seekers like you in front of recruiters so that good people are able to find work. And I know my recruiting friends, they want those things too. Um, are you thinking about trying some more of these bots? Because I think this could be a whole series and it
I
could be
think I
something good for
might.
you.
I think I might. From what it said in the article, there weren't too many that allow you to do customization, so I'm kind of skeptical. But I am curious, and I have actually been reading Co-Intelligence, which is a book on the newest book on AI that everybody is reading nowadays. So I'm kind of curious about that. So I think I may try some of the other bots, and I may try again this one with the customization just for a month. It costs a little bit less. Um, but I think I do think there is a little bit of a mismatch because clearly I have the skills. I do look at LinkedIn sometimes and see that, oh, this is asking for these 4 skills that you don't have. Well, I have them. It's just like they're worded slightly differently. And that's the issue. Like if you called it, you know, uh, editing skills and editing instead of writing and editing, and I'm up to the max on skills, so I can't add anymore. That's a little bit of a challenge. I wonder if that's it. But it's interesting. Again, this is a new experience for me. I've had, people at Microsoft and other big tech firms. My friends say I've looked over my resume. Um, I've made plenty of changes to update it, and it's still just not seeming to make a difference. So I don't know if there's a magic formula. I don't know if a bot will help, but I would love to find. I actually have a friend who's doing this. She is using bots and she's claiming that she's getting a 25% interview rate. So I may work with her. Yeah, yeah, she's offering consulting. So I may actually work with her just for an hour or two and see what she says because she's been using it more than me and report back to you on how our work with the bots is going.
It could be a whole new business venture where if you could figure out how to use the algorithm, I guess you can generate some revenue. That's my
Yeah,
entrepreneur brain uh,
exactly.
going on that side. The other one, and this guy is actually based in Austin, and I have never tried this one yet, but I have had a couple of Facebook messages with him.
Mhm.
His name is Atticus, and he has one called JobSolve, JOBSOLV.com. And
I'm gonna look at
they
that right now.
advertise, yeah, applying to 100,000 plus remote jobs with just one click, which is why, like, my message to him in this Facebook group a couple months ago when he was talking about this was like, great, now you're just going to bring more unqualified candidates. I want to
Yeah.
match with qualified people, but they're in beta on Product Hunt. So he
Interesting.
advertised to get started for free. I feel like there's a lot more research that needs to happen in this area. Interestingly enough, he was talking to me about um, how can he help HR people with their processes using AI. And I was like, well, that's a completely separate conversation from applying
Mhm.
for jobs. But it's interesting how this AI space is progressing so rapidly with a lot of different kinds of tools.
It is. It is. And that reminds me that one of the options on Massive was you could click the apply to all. So basically any job that comes in automatically apply for. And I refused to click that button because I already saw that, a good half of the positions were just not a good match. And I didn't want to make more work for HR people when there was just no match there at all. So
We
I think,
appreciate you
yeah.
for doing that thing. I did want to ask you, you talked about customization, which I know that's an extra
Mhm.
feature with Massive, but how much time are you spending on customization when you're applying for an individual job on your resume, cover letter, and all your things?
I spend about an hour per application. Sometimes it's as little as 30 minutes, but on average, it's about an hour because I have a couple of resumes, but I will also customize them. Sorry, don't know if you heard the dog in the background. Um, but I'll customize the resume. I have a couple of standard ones, but sometimes they just ask for things that I just want to highlight that skill a little bit more. Um, and the other thing is the cover letter. I actually do have a standard cover letter, but I have like 5 pages of bullet points that I move in and out depending, and I create new ones depending upon what they're asking for in the job description. So, I mean, it's quite a bit of work to go through the job description and say, highlight 5 things that I want to highlight in my cover letter, and then go through and match my bullet points to that, and then make sure I've also got an intro and conclusion, and then I didn't forget to replace the company name so that I'm not addressing it to a different company. So I'd say 30, 45, or 60 minutes per application.
That's quite a bit. I mean, in how many, so since you started your search, how many jobs have you applied for? Tell us that number.
348.
348. So, and
Yes.
how long have you been searching?
Uh, 8 months.
8 months. Okay. So, I mean, you're not applying to hundreds of jobs like every single day. You're being very selective, taking time
I
to
am.
customize and doing all those things. Um, I think that's important for recruiters to really think about because I think in our mind we are thinking, rage applying and somebody rapid applying and in your experience that's not the case. You're being very cautious, you're being very detailed before you make the decision to hit that apply button and submit your application.
Yeah, exactly. I have no interest in wasting anybody's time. I know I'm going to be one of hundreds, possibly thousands of resumes. So I want to make sure that it's something that I would actually want to do if they called
Sure.
me. Like some of the jobs are just like, yeah, I could do that, but I don't apply to those. Even if I could do it and it's in my pay range and it's been 8 months, I just, I don't want to do something that I'm just a shrug about, right? I want
Sure.
it to be something that I care about and that I don't have to fake enthusiasm for at the interview.
Yeah. And again, I wouldn't want that for myself, and I wouldn't want that for my friends and people like you that I care about. Talk to us. What is the ideal job for you? And then where can they go to connect with you if they're like, I have an opening, or Heidi sounds like somebody I want to connect with and maybe chat about some openings.
Sure.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I have a really strong background in content marketing and strategy and social media marketing and strategy. So the ideal position for me is something where I can work in content marketing, social media marketing, or program management. One of the skills, a couple of skills I added with my experience at AWS was I was actually managing programs more than I was writing. Did a lot of editing, but not as much writing as I had in previous jobs because I was owning and scoping out the whole program, working with contributors internally and externally, doing a lot of work with cross-functional teams. That's a big skill I added to my resume because I had to work cross-functionally with product and engineering, other marketing, demand gen, sales, analyst relations, public relations, a little bit of everything. So I definitely added those skills in. So anything like that sort of in digital marketing. And I don't really care much about company size. As I said, I work for a 5-person startup and for AWS. So it's really more about I want to be able to get in and help the company scale and grow. I love process improvement. So if you have like a fledgling program or you need someone to start a program and then figure out how to scale it, so it's not just one person doing everything, but it can scale easily beyond the scope of one person. I love to do that.
I, I love that. I think the most important thing outside of these experiences and that you have also is the fact that it needs to be, unless they're located in Hawaii,
Oh,
it
yes.
needs to be remote, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I am. I think that's one of the challenges that I'm having is I am based in Hawaii, and I think some companies may not be licensed to work here or may have just too many applicants from other states, so they're not bothering to go the extra mile to make sure someone can work from Hawaii. But I am used to working Pacific hours. I worked Pacific hours when I worked for AWS, for Amazon, and it wasn't a problem. Always happy to get up early or stay late if you have customers in Europe or in APAC. So not a problem at all.
Yeah. I think that the project management and the managing of the multiple people in
Mhm.
different areas, especially like PR and product and all those different pieces,
Yes.
is a skill that is incredibly valuable.
Yes,
It is.
I didn't really realize how valuable it was when I was doing it. I just found it kind of annoying, to be frank. But I really grew to appreciate it because I got to meet so many people in so many different departments. I got to see what their world was like, and we got to build something together instead of just like when I was at the startup. I mean, I loved it, but it was like Jane of all trades, chief marketer and bottle washer, right? So it was just me generating as much as I could. And when you work cross-functionally, you really see how all the parts fit together and you work together to meet the bigger goals. And it really gave me a good chance to do some, big picture thinking while dealing with all the details of, for example, a product launch that had to be launched at down to the second at reInvent, for example.
So where can people go to connect with you? Is LinkedIn the best place or
LinkedIn is the best place. I'm on there almost every day applying for jobs. So it's
Heidi Miller? Yeah, what's the URL over there for
Heidi
you?
Miller, Heidimiller. And it's LinkedIn/in/Heidi Miller. And that's it.
That's great. And it sounds like you've been on LinkedIn for a while if you're able to have Heidi Miller, because there's a lot
Yes.
of Heidi Millers.
Yeah, well, you've reached the right place. My banner photo is the inclusion flag. So if you see the big inclusion flag, you know you're in the right place.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Heidi, for taking the time to talk to us about your experience using AI chatbots as a job seeker. I think it's something that recruiters, TA leaders are really curious about. I would encourage maybe them to give the experience a try, especially with some of these with a free trial. Maybe they can use the chatbot to apply to their own jobs
I think that's a good
inside
idea.
their
Yeah.
ATS, just so they can kind of get inside the experience and think about maybe how they're going to improve the matching or candidate experience to be able to connect with qualified candidates like yourself and not be overloaded and miss out on those hidden gems.
Yeah, or if they want me to apply one of their jobs just as a test, I'm happy to do that.
Oh,
I'm
I love
curious
that.
myself, so I'm sort of doing this as like a little side project and maybe write it up as an AI thing. So I will definitely report back to you as I try other bots and maybe as I try Massive again. And again, if they want me to try to apply to one of their jobs through the bot, I'm happy to do that.
Wow. I appreciate you. I saw Heidi sharing this on Facebook. We've known each
Yes.
other since like the early days of Twitter. And
Yes.
so when I saw that, I was like, oh, I wanted to talk to Heidi because she can give us the perspective of not only a talented digital marketer, but as a job seeker right now in this really challenging and complicated market.
Yeah, and if you get any feedback from your hiring folks about, ways to like ways they want us to use these bots or anything that'll make it easier for them, all ears.
I would love that. I would love that. Reach out to Heidi, connect with her. Thank you again, Heidi, for taking the time to talk to us about your experience.
Thank you, Jess. It's been fun. I'll report back.
All right.